You all need to wake up. I'm gonna right now, guys. You're about to get the hardest to swallow red pill you'll ever have in your entire life, guys. Okay, look. Do you guys seriously think that raids are alive right now? Do you guys seriously fucking think that raids are actually like, alive and active content? No, they aren't. So to say that, oh, it just sucks to only get strikes after years of nothing. Well, guys, seriously, you right now, okay, you are literally complaining, okay, about like being given medicine when you're on life support. Seriously, guys, you are currently in hospital with locked-in syndrome. You can't move. You can't do anything, right? And basically, you're complaining that, you know, like the doctors and your family members didn't pull the plug on you. Okay, that's what's going on. That's what you're complaining about right now. You're there, can't do anything, have no voice, totally irrelevant to the conversation. And like, oh, I think it's time to turn this guy off. I think it's time to end this guy, right? You know, like maybe donate his organs or something like that. That's what's going on with you right now.
I think you're a little optimistic.
Oh, yeah. All right. Why is Rocket in chat and not in call? Why is Jaw in chat and not in call? Dude, honestly, we should just call Rocker and Jaw. There we go. Like, we can make it happen, guys. We can just like bring everyone into play. Yeah. Yeah. Let's bring him in here. You know, let's just add everyone in here, and then it's, you know, it's gonna get crazy, guys. It's gonna be good stuff.
I don't think I've ever met Jaw before, or like we've never spoken. At least I don't think. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. All right, good stuff. Yeah, we did. Like, Jaw on TeaTime, I mean, that's a very easy way to completely lose partnership, to be honest, right? That's a very easy way just to get permabanned. But you know what?
I heard some stories.
Yeah, you know, Jaw's he's a spicy guy, you know? He's a man who likes a little bit of spice, right? Likes a bit of content there. Yeah, dude, the Mesmer video. Doomer TeaTime is back. Guys, there's not going to be any Doomer TeaTime, right? Like, what are you guys talking about? This is going to be it's going to be a positive thing. A very, very positive thing. And with that in mind, gentlemen, let us begin the TeaTime. And this is a pretty big TeaTime, actually, because there hasn't been one since the announcement. In fact, it's been around a month, I believe, since the last TeaTime. So we have quite a lot to catch up with. And I think there are no better people, okay, to deal with that than Nike and, of course, Preston, a.k.a. Brazil. And maybe Inks will join later. He's feeling a little bit better, so that will be like a bonus. Like, there's actually like it's like a you know, a danger. Like, he might just appear, you know, out of nowhere. He might like emerge into the call and start roasting everyone. That's a risk, guys. So watch out for that later in the podcast. But what we have right now, okay, is of course Guild Wars 2: End of Dragons. It has now been officially announced. In this capacity with the teaser, and of course we now know a fair bit more about the expansion that we're going to be getting in very early 2022, and in fact confirmed February 2022 there. So, you know what, let's kind of bring in this with a bit of a general overview here on the announcement. And actually, I saw that with regards to the announcement, Nike, I think you had some takes, okay, some slightly spicy takes, maybe a little bit critical of some of the things that some of the things that were done there and the way they were done there. Like, give us your overall impression of the End of Dragons teaser announcement trailer thing.
I think the trailer was not particularly good. I don't even know if that's a hot take. I think that's kind of like a lukewarm, like not even. That might just be like a glass of water you left on the counter overnight take to say, but the trailer failed. Like, just for fun, like, I have a pretty good idea of what makes a good trailer, but just for fun, I googled what makes a good movie trailer and like looked at like all these like clickbait list articles that came up, and like every single one of them like this trailer failed on like almost like every single criteria that they offered. And basically what it hinges upon is they didn't give us a direct threat. We don't know who the bad guy is. We don't know, like, we're not like, there's no tension whatsoever. There's no like building anticipation, like building threat, building tension, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? This is like crazy. Like, you don't have any of that. You're like, okay, I guess. Like, it's no different than if someone was like, hey, we're going to take a vacation to Orlando and go to Disney World. Like, that's kind of the level of threat that they've presented for Cantha. Like, and Disney's about as sinister as what was presented in that trailer, in terms of like bad guy. Like, who's the bad guy? Is the woman at the end with the green jade stuff the bad guy, or is like one of the dragons the bad guy? Like, you can't even tell. So, and I think you showed it yourself. Like, you showed the HOT trailer. It's very obvious in the HOT trailer, like, what's going on. You know, like, you have like Ritlock fighting this big dragon, and it's like, oh my god, this dragon's insane. It's super powerful. Like, this is like clearly like super awesome CGI fight where the stakes of the expansion are pretty good. So you just knew, but this one, it doesn't. Even people that are like super invested in the franchise would have a hard time even identifying who the characters are. Like, people are like, oh, that's Bubbles talking. No, that's Kunavang talking. No, that's Glint talking. That's Aurene talking. Like, people don't even know who's talking. Like, it was just not well directed, I don't think. It's almost like they were like, we don't want to spoil any of the story. Like, they didn't want to like spoil any of their story by like even telling you who the bad guy is, which is, to me, kind of crazy. Like you have to at least give us some premise of why we should invest in the outcome of the expansion. And obviously it depends who the target of the trailer is. Is the target of the trailer to hype up the community, or is it to hype up like gamers outside of the Guild Wars 2 community and get them interested in the game? I think if you had a very specific goal one way or the other, it would probably be a different trailer, like, for each. But like, I feel like this one kind of satisfied neither of those, because people outside the game, I think we saw what the reaction was to the sponsored stream. The people were like, okay, WTF is that? Who are these characters? Like, what is this? And then people inside the game were like, the trailer is meaningless. Just let's talk about features, because we learned nothing from the trailer. And like, people inside the game are way more hyped about the features that they are going to include in the expansion than they are about the trailer itself. So the trailer needed work is the bottom line. Like, it could have used a re-edit director's cut Criterion edition.
So on the features then, actually, like the features, so what do we actually know? We know that I've got to say, I don't know if you guys expected the features we're going to get, but I did not expect the features we're going to get. We're getting fishing, boats, okay, and turtles, right? Like, and then also some kind of weird jade mastery as well, right? That's what's confirmed right now, in addition to the elite specializations. And you know, it's interesting because I'm not sure what people were expecting. I think a lot of people were expecting to have their minds like absolutely blown by this like insane game-changing feature, but I don't know. I mean, I'm not really sure how you could really do that. I mean, like, at this point, there's so much in the game. Like, when you have something that's as powerful as mounts and gliding, right? Like, gliding and mounts are insanely strong. Like, how do you one up that? And I guess that maybe fishing isn't exactly the way to do that. But I mean, I don't know. Like, what do you guys think of the new features that have been brought to the table here? Because I think players are a little skeptical of adding in these new features, and to be honest, I don't really see how they're going to add that much to the game, because they seem like almost like they're adding like mini games, right? It seems like almost like they're adding adventures, right? Like, it seems like the entire mastery is just adventures. Oh yeah, you can ride a turtle. Oh yeah, you can fish and collect fish and stuff like that. It's a pretty interesting idea. I really hope we see some beta tests of that so we can actually understand what's going on there. But it does seem to me like some somewhat unusual choices of masteries to add, and it actually does make me question the mastery system as a whole. It makes me think, you know, yeah, like, there's obviously a big problem with escalation built into masteries. Like, you have to say, right, okay, gliding was great, but you know what? Now you actually have fly hack with the sky scale, even better, right? Like, and it's kind of like, where do you go from there? And I think that's a problem with masteries. We saw this with Icebrood Saga as well. Iceberg Saga, they started power creeping the masters like really hard. Like, oh yeah, this will break every single break bar instantly. Oh, this will kill the Bone Skinner in 17 seconds with 1,000,000 damage per second on this ability with this insane AoE damage. Oh, this gives you 20% damage reduction in strike missions. It's kind of like the game. It's really hard to develop masteries, I think, that are horizontal and actually apply to large areas of the game, because I know what they want to do, right? They want to make it feel like the expansion has changed the entire game. So like, okay, right, you can glide everywhere in the game, you can go on your mount everywhere in the game, but now it's like, oh, you can fish everywhere in the game. In a way, I approve of the design here, because it's something that actually doesn't bloat the actual core gameplay. It's more like, oh yeah, this is like another activity that you can do in the entire world. So I think fishing is actually very, very good in that regard, but I think maybe the player base feels like it maybe fell a little bit flat, actually, because it wasn't a complete Omega spectacular right there. I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
Well, like, I don't know. So here's the thing. I don't know how many other MMOs or games like have fishing. Like, I guess Minecraft does. I guess there are other MMOs that do. And so, like, as far as the trailer is concerned, like, I don't know, like, what an outsider that's thinking about coming into the game, well, like, they're not going to recognize that as a new feature necessarily, like boats and fishing, because, like, if that's something they already have, they're just going to say, oh, cool, I guess I can do this in this game too. And I don't think they're going to know that that's new. And, like, I don't even think the Siege Turtle was in the trailer. Like, I watched it 4 times and I barely remember it at all. Like, the only thing I remember is like the lady spinning around and like looking at the camera kind of like at the end of the trailer, and I guess Aurene was flying. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess the thing about like fishing or whatever is like new players that come out can like start in whatever the Char starting zone is. I forget the name of it. Plains of Ashford. Like, maybe they go in, since there's a giant Ascalonian catfish that they announce on the screen, and maybe they see people in the boats in the water and fishing, and they're like, oh, cool. Like, where do I get my boat? And then you have to buy the expansion and do it. And maybe it's just really easy to unlock. And so they just do that, and they just want to like boat around and stuff. Like, I don't know. It doesn't, but yeah, like it's not like, it's not really an exciting feature to me. Like, I don't really care about it. Like, if I'm just completely honest, like, I haven't even unlocked Skyscale because like I don't want to be bothered to grind and do it. And I just don't care. Like, I have Griffin and it's good enough for me. And like, if I can't be bothered to unlock literal fly hacks with the Skyscale, like, why would I even remotely care about fishing? Like, I don't care about the number next to my name being bigger to show how many mastery points I have. It's just not, like, it's not even a relevant thing to me. Like, I don't know that I'll even care about it unless I have to get it for some kind of content. Like, maybe you have to catch the giant catfish to do the new legendary weapons. Like, I don't know. But I don't, like, it wasn't a particularly interesting, like, trailer or anything to me. Like, the features weren't particularly interesting or anything. The only thing that was vaguely interesting to me about like the whole stream was like pistol necro, and like I don't think that like any of the elite specs were even in it, except for you see the light armor like jumping with the little pistol thing. Like, that could have been Mesmer. Like, who knows? Mesmer already has pistol. So just like the trailer didn't press any buttons for me. The only purpose I think it served was to just show that like, hey, we're making an expansion and there's dragons in it. I think like the only way for the trailer to even be interesting is to go back and compare it to the leak thread on Reddit that seems to actually like be legitimate based on like some of the stuff we saw in the trailer. If it's not real, like
some
at least
guesses.
It's interesting.
There was some good guesses, right?
Yeah, they were good. Like, at least it's interesting to think about the trailer in that context. And like that's the only thing I really took away from it. I was like, oh, okay, like this is kind of cool, whatever. But like you have to go, like Nike said, like you have to go and read that thread and make the implication that that's the villain of the trailer. It's like you need like literal leaks to give context to the trailer that the trailer just gave no context like by itself. Like, it didn't, like, the only purpose that it like served again is just to say that, hey, there's a new part of the video game coming out, pre-order it now, and you get skins that and a title that nobody's going to care about. Like, no one uses the pre-order Heart of Thorns glider skin, the green one. Like, Nobody uses the title. Like that stuff is just like it's not interesting. But I don't know.
They could have at least made the trailer a little bit more action packed. Like if you watch that Ritlock HOT trailer, it's like a CGI like kind of epic fight, and it doesn't tell you anything about the story besides like obviously establishing like there's like a jungle dragon villain that he's fighting, and it's like epic and badass. But like sort of the combat that they showed was like a guy like
Fighting a
two
snake.
characters floating on a rainbow against like a snake who was like floating on a rainbow, and it was like a 2D painting. It was a concept art. It wasn't like a CGI thing. So it was definitely like a lower budget trailer than like the HOT one. And maybe it could have a few more dollars.
It is worth noting that it is just like the teaser. They might have like a launch trailer, because the HOT one that we're talking about here it was the launch trailer for Heart of Thorns. So there may be another one that they just like boom, drop it. Will like actually show off a little bit more, because as a lot of people are saying, quite right. They do want to be a little bit cryptic. Although then if they want to be cryptic, then why use this to promote the game to players who are outside of the game? Like that's where I'd get very, very lost, right? At that point, because for those who don't know, ArenaNet sponsored a few streamers in World of Warcraft to promote the video game, promote the expansion. And, well, I mean, it's really hard to say what went wrong here, because we don't know. Obviously, we don't know the details we don't know the details, right, of what ArenaNet wanted these streamers to do. But essentially, it boiled down to these streamers playing WoW with an actual banner ad on their stream, and then playing some 15-second clips of the teaser. So the thing is, like, if you want to be super cryptic and hype up your own community, that's fair enough. But then why are you using it to promote your game on other video game streams, right? Like, that's when it gets a little bit weird. Like, what's going on there? Like, what is that? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we're just a bunch of smooth brains, and it actually is incredibly effective. But it didn't seem. It didn't seem.
Well, I think part of the problem was which streamers they tapped to do that. Like, it's no secret that the Guild Wars 2 community does best with, like, especially when we're talking about WoW players, with like the sort of the more casual side of WoW players, like the people that don't like mythic raiding and are looking for an alternative to that. Like that, I mean, that was like the core of who they recruited in 2012 to play the game. Mm-hmm. So it seems odd to pick like the leader or whatever of a raiding guild, like mythic raiding guild, to be the promoter. Like, isn't there like a wooden potatoes, like lore casual person in the WoW community that they could have had to, like, maybe who would have less a megalol like audience that would have worked? I don't know if that person even exists.
They actually have a lot, yeah. There's a lot of like lore buffs actually in WoW, yeah. A whole bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it could have been, and obviously you have it. It sucked that the materials that they gave Max, I think is who it is, Max. They gave him like kind of like crappy video to play, crappy banner, like no context to anything. Like all that was bad. So obviously you have to fix that first, but like I think he was the wrong pick to present, because like just the percentage of his audience who would even consider giving the game a shot is pretty low compared to, like, say, like a lore nerd kind of like open world casual WoW streamer, someone who might have a smaller, like, if let's say that guy, his stream, let's just say he has 10,000 viewers, and there's another guy who only has 2,000 viewers, but as long as the other guy's stream has 5 times the engagement, then it works out to be a better deal. And you have to figure that Max's stream going to have almost no engagement. But that's just my perception.
Yeah.
Well, oh my God, I literally just forgot what I was going to say.
Oh no.
Well, first of all, like, someone just mentioned like Peon in the chat. Like, I don't think that Peon plays Guild Wars 2 anymore. Perhaps not. But yeah, like, you could sponsor and pay someone like that who actually has experience with like the game, and they've done like all of the content. Like whether or not they got carried through it is up in the air. Who's to say?
Listen, I deny all knowledge of this.
Yeah. But like, that's someone who could literally just say to their audience, and I think would say honestly to their audience that like, hey, I've played the game. I think it was cool. I think the game was, awesome, and totally like it's worth going back to. Like this expansion is a good value. Like this is gonna be great. That like,
Yeah.
That seems like a well. And okay, I remembered what I was gonna say. Also, is it cool if I finish the thought?
Sure.
Okay. So here's another thing. I remembered it. Their marketing, they actually did something really interesting. They had this commercial a while back with Dell laptops, and they were talking about like RTX, and like they showed Sunqua Peak Fractal, and there's like a flame ball that came out. It actually had like super legit shading and stuff that I don't think the game actually has. So maybe like stuff does have RTX and like DX11 and all that stuff. Like that's actually a really, I think, solid marketing move. And then there was the post where like you buy a Dell gaming laptop and you get Guild Wars 2, which is cool. They're not giving away the new expansion with it. They're giving away like Path of Fire, Heart of Thorns, and the core game. So I guess you buy it and use the code, and you're like, damn, I guess I like get the new expansion too and spend my like $30 or however much it is. And I was thinking, like, this is foolproof. This is a genius marketing play. Good job, ArenaNet, because it's way better than Quiznos subs and like Boba Tea or whatever it was. Like, just lol at that. Interesting counterpoint that actually Zach, the music god himself, made is they're going to buy a brand new gaming laptop with 2021 specs in the middle of like the GPU shortage and everything. They're going to get like so pumped up about playing the game, and it's going to run like absolute shit on the brand new computer that they just bought. And I thought, damn, it's like,
what?
It's like they had a good idea, but it's like, how well is that going to like,
I mean,
how well will that really play out?
Okay, I actually have to defend like the performance of the game there a little bit. Like my PC actually broke when I was like really into World versus World, and I had to stream off a laptop, and no one actually noticed that I was streaming off a laptop. I streamed off a laptop. It was an older one. It was like a 2017 gaming laptop, and the game was very, very, very playable actually, even in World versus World, like off a laptop. So the game will run pretty okay, right? Like it will run all right. And hey, like we've got DX11 coming soon as well, right? DirectX 11. Let's go. Speaking of that, by the way, I am super curious actually, because I want to, we're dooming it up here, guys. But let's go ahead.
I'm not super dooming.
It's
just
not
to
dooming.
go back to the fishing thing before we leave that topic.
Oh yeah, sure.
Like, I think that's a good thing that they're adding to the game. Like I have seen on Reddit, like on like r/MMO or whatever, where people are like, Guild Wars 2 doesn't even have fishing. Why would I try that? And I'm just like, holy shit, you're an idiot. But you see that comment enough times, it does start to click in your head that maybe we should just have fishing to satisfy people like that, just to get them to like not have that as a point. If it's not that big of a deal for them to add, like, go for it. I think it's a great thing to add to the game. Like you said, I think the problem was sort of people getting their hopes up too high. People expected a mount level sort of thing, and they hyped themselves up. And I personally am a victim of it. I was convinced we were getting heroes or henchmen because it was the only thing that was like at that level of sort of like expansion of the game, like in terms of features. But I guess it turned out there was another alternative, and that alternative was not getting any features like that and going with like smaller features, which is what ArenaNet went with. And I mean, okay. It's just, but I think that was 100% a community issue of the community, myself included, raising personal expectations higher than they ought to have.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of want to even though the masteries to me, like the main thing about the expansion is definitely stuff like the elite specializations, the actual content itself, like the strike mission CMs, like that sort of stuff. I actually really want to defend the masteries that ArenaNet is releasing here, because I actually think they're quite good design, because I think that they aren't so game changing. Like, they don't like completely distort the rest of the game that currently exists. So I have to say that I think fishing is a good idea. It's like a mini game that will work everywhere in the world, but it doesn't affect what's already there, right? It's more like it's adding something new, right? It's not changing, you know, it's adding a new mechanic that you can do, instead of making like all the other content essentially be viewed through the lens of this new thing, right? For example, like when mounts were released, like the old way you would play the game is essentially gone, right? Like, that's, in my opinion, the downside of mounts, and of gliding, by the way, too. Like, when you add something like gliding and mounts that's so all-encompassing, the old version of the game is replaced by the new one, right? If that makes sense. And you see this even with break bars, right? Like, when they added the way station, and by the way, I actually think that the way station mastery is maybe the worst mastery in the game, actually, for this exact reason. Because the second they added the way station, ArenaNet is now forced to design every single break bar in the game, right, in open world, around players having this ridiculously overpowered special action hotkey, right? And now every piece of content in the game has to be handicapped by this mastery existing, and that's why I actually really praise fishing for actually being, in my opinion, a good idea from a mastery from a design point of view, because it isn't going to have this incredibly distorting effect, right? You know, incredibly distorting effect on the content. They can nerf it. They nerf the mastery? I mean, they already did, actually. It used to be it used to be more overpowered, funnily enough. But yeah, it's still very OP. I actually think that a lot of the issues I have with masteries is that they do this too much, right? They change the game too much. They replace the old game instead of enhancing what's there. And I think, you know, to give credit where it's due, I actually think fishing will do that. I think fishing will be this little activity that you can do with your friends on your boat. It will synergize really nicely with the boat, right? And you can just go and enjoy that. And I would actually say the same thing about boats, like, because the skiff, right? I think you're going to be going quite fast. It'll be maybe a little bit comparable to the skimmer, but again, it doesn't invalidate the skimmer, right? Like, the skiff is not going to make the skimmer useless, right? The skiff is not going to make swimming useless. It's going to be like something different, and I think that is actually key in mastery design. So I have to give ArenaNet a lot of credit for that, in my opinion, because I think if you look at something like mounts, right? Mounts essentially made movement skills in the game somewhat obsolete. Like, you know, before back in there, guys, I'm sure you guys remember this. Can you guys remember, like, when some professions had access to movement speed increases and others don't, and people were like rioting super fucking hard about this? And I was like, oh, my mesmer, I've got no swiftness on my mesmer. I'm so slow, right? And this is actually relevant. Like, this is a relevant part of the game, and now it isn't, right? Because you just mount everywhere anyway. Even in World versus World, this is what you do now. Like, you just move everywhere using these abilities. Suddenly, stuff like, you know, leaps and, you know, speed increases and teleports, that's not really relevant anymore in open world, because mounts entirely replace that. And again, I'm not like ultra salty about that. I think that's whatever. It doesn't really affect a lot, but in my opinion, I think that's a design flaw, right? I view that as a design flaw in the mastery system, and I actually like the somewhat lower impact it appears that some of these masteries may be having on the gameplay. Like, even the turtle, because the turtle is slow, right? So yeah, it is a combat mount, and I'm not like super enthusiastic about adding a combat mount into the game, because I just like, you know, I like combat. But you know what, guys, hear me out. What if you're in the turtle mount, and the person who's on the guns actually does like a guaranteed 15k DPS or something like that? Like, all of a sudden, everyone's open world experience is just so much better, because people go from doing like 2k DPS outside of the mount, like just like less than auto attacking, right? And then they go in the turtle, and then bam, like boom, 15k DPS, like when they're in the turtle mount, and everything just dies instantly. It would make the player base probably even worse at the game, but you know what? Those bosses are going to die fast, right? It's going to be great, okay? It's going to be some epic gaming right there.
Yeah, and it's kind of easy to see what they could do with the turtle, where like level 1 of the mastery, it just shoots like an auto attack shot that, like, you know, does damage. Then like level 2, like it does like a knockdown. Like it gives you like a number 2 skill, and then a number 3 skill, and a number 4 skill, and they each do something different. So your turtle gets like more capable.
Here's a
There you go.
even. This is a. I think this is a hot take. You ready?
Oh,
The
unleash it.
turtle's damage scales based off of the player's stats that summons the turtle.
Uh-oh.
So if you're wearing full nomad's gear
Oh,
and
no.
people mount onto your turtle and try to DPS, it will do no damage. You will never crit. The turtle, and it will probably be worse than just walking around and hitting something. But if you're like full Nemesis glass cannon hybrid necro, maybe the turtle does 1,000,000 DPS and people think, damn, I can support and I can ride on a DPS turtle and then I can jump off and I can heal people and jump back on the turtle. And like, it's teamwork. It's like big teamwork. Like you actually get people like a support and like a DPS build like running around together, and like it makes something interesting. Or maybe people say, damn, my build is shit. It does no damage. I want my turtle to do damage. And they decide to switch things up a little bit. And like, I think that could be interesting. Will they do it? I don't know. Like
someone could be a heal turtle. The
shot, yeah.
Like the number 5 skill could shoot like a healing AoE.
Ooh, that's good too. Like that would be cool if they made it that way. That would actually be amazing. Will they do it? Probably not. I don't think they will. I think it will probably be like the Tequatl cannons or whatever. Where you just like randomly shoot shit and it just does something.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually very fleshed out, where you could like, you know, load different ammunition, right? Like do a whole bunch of different things. I think they'll actually flesh out a lot, because in my opinion, in a way they have to, and this is why. This is why. Okay, now we get to that. Now we get. Listen, guys. Okay, I'm just going to put a timestamp here so no one roasts us for being too negative. But this is where I will actually kind of white knight ArenaNet here a little bit, because I think that because these systems aren't as such new. For example, like we already have mounts in the game, right? Like we already have mounts. So a siege turtle mount is not new. The siege turtle is the new part. The mount is not the new part. I think they'll actually go really hard on it. I think because they already have the technology in place, right? They have the ability to make mounts. So I think they probably will actually develop it a lot. I'm expecting siege turtles and fishing to have a lot going on there. I'm not expecting them to be, oh yeah, this is a mini game. Do this. I think they will actually go very, very hard on it and make sure it's a very fleshed out system. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever to do that. If they did that, you know, because I mean, look, I mean, and you know, I can kind of back this up with some evidence. I think, I mean, if you actually look at, I would say particularly the beetle. Actually, ArenaNet don't mess around when they develop this stuff, right? You can argue that, like, why did you add this to the game? Like, are you trolling? Like, why have you added a racing game to our MMORPG? But that's what ArenaNet does. ArenaNet like to experiment and add a lot of different, you know, variety features to the game. And the beetle is extremely well fleshed out. Like, you know, there's no way you can deny that. It is a very well fleshed out. And the griffin is too, right? The griffin on the launcher part of the fire and then the beetle afterwards. And I would say the sky scale, maybe a little bit less interesting from a design standpoint, but certainly the griffin and the beetle are very well done. From an execution standpoint, and I'm expecting a very similar level of that with fishing and actually with the siege shuttle mount, and hopefully whatever they actually drop there as well with like the other masters that they choose to release too. So I don't know. I'm somewhat optimistic about the implementation of it, but I don't know. There you go. That's
I got something else to add. This is
really?
a little.
This
is probably the hottest take of all. Do you think... So here's just a little bit of insight that has been revealed to me by some people that I've known in the past. But the mount endurance is client-side. So you can have permanent speed boost beetle, you can have permanent dodge jackal, like all of it is client-side. So I wonder if... Nike's gone.
Oh, he's
Goodbye,
gone.
Nike.
He's out of here.
Fully banned. Nike is banned.
True.
But... I wonder if they don't change that and you just have Gatling gun turtles, like fully semi-automatic siege turtles, just spraying jade lasers like into Octovine and like permanently like dodging around for like a bonus move speed, or like who knows what the hell they'll do. Like, what if something like that happens? Or what if they actually fix it and to where all of like, if the turtle stats are like based off of your stats, I would think that they would probably have to make the calculations, like they probably have to change it to server side. I don't know. I don't know how the technical stuff works, but I wonder how that happens. I wonder if they change anything or like how that's going to work. I would be really curious to see that. and to like have an update on that once it's actually out. That's something that's like really interesting to me.
Yeah, for
Who knows?
sure.
Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, is he back?
I'm back.
Oh, welcome back. Welcome back.
Or
We were
maybe
just talking about fully automatic siege turtles.
That's sweet.
Yeah, fully semi-automatic
Yeah.
siege turtles.
Yeah, and so
It's
you
an
well, I
assault
mean,
weapon.
an assault weapon, and I mean, obviously that it was going to be using, you can maybe upgrade, maybe juice the turtle up a little bit with some third-party ingredients. Basically, is what was going on there, which I'm sure will probably happen. I'm expecting it to be very, very overpowered. But I guess like the point I want to discuss here is kind of a bit of a meta point, actually. Like, do you guys think that a lot of the things that were kind of announced in the trailer were actually better than they first appear? And the reason why it was a lot of this stuff kind of got overlooked or just kind of like was seen to be disappointing was because, one, it was expected, like Elite Specs. No, everyone knew that Elite Specs were coming, right? That wasn't a surprise. And two, the feature like isn't completely game changing or insanely novel, right? Because that's the impression I got. I think that a lot of people didn't realize just how very good a lot of the things they announced in the trailer were. Like, there's some tools that even I'm sleeping on this. I love what they're doing with some of the open world stuff. They're making it so that veterans, champions, right? Like, elite mobs all have different abilities now. That's a really good idea. They're making it so strike missions have challenge modes now. And there's going to be, like, how are we not screaming about this? How are we not yelling about this? Like, one of the biggest criticisms of Guild Wars 2 ever is that the game has lacked replayability, and they are actually adding on launch, I think, 5 strike missions that are going to be replayable, right? And then a few days after, it's like a week after launch or whatever, they enable challenge modes on launch with this stuff. That I know this is remarkable. Like, why is no one going crazy about this? I guess it's because it's not like completely like mind blowing, I guess. But I think this is kind of like in a way a problem with the consumer, a problem with the Guild Wars 2 community, that we're very, very impressed by like all the style, all the flash, but then for some reason we're not actually impressed when ArenaNet says, hey, this game, we're gonna fix all the things you said you didn't like about it. All that shit you said you hated about the game, we're just gonna fix it real quick. And for some reason, no one is impressed by this. Why is no one impressed by the fact that ArenaNet listened to basically every criticism we had of the game, and then they're saying, oh yeah, in the expansion, by the way, boom, we're getting it done. And this was kind of what I wanted to talk about DirectX 11 as well. Seriously, dude. I almost feel it was actually like a misplay to actually put DX11 outside of the X-Pack and alliances, right? I am now 100% in the boat that they should have actually made us all suffer and wait for the X-Pack, right? And I hate that, by the way, because I actually think that
like
Arena...
Armory in the X-Pack.
Yeah, the Armory. Yeah, the Armory.
X-Pack,
Yeah, they should have done that. But the thing is...
what we all thought was going to happen.
Yeah. But this thing, I actually hate the fact that that's true. I genuinely dislike the fact that that's true, because in my opinion, what ArenaNet are doing right now is so much more pro-consumer, right? And ultimately, I view them as being punished for being pro-consumer right now. And I actually really don't like that. That kind of rubs me the wrong way a lot, actually. That ArenaNet is being a good company, and instead of withholding features, they're actually going to let us in on them early to tide us over until the expansion and give us this stuff just basically for free, right? Like upgrading the game's engine to make it hopefully make it run a bit better. By the way, one of the biggest complaints about the game is performance, right? Adding alliances, a massive system-wide rework. Again, before the expansion, completely for free. External to that, again, server balancing and server, mixing and matching, right, is one of the biggest criticisms of World vs. World since launch, honestly, right? Again, and they're doing that for free, and they're being very, very pro-consumer, but they're getting screwed because all the stuff that they've announced now, everyone was so angry with the game that, like everyone was lukewarm anyway, and now it's not going to be in the expansion hype, so now their announcement is less hype because they were nice to us. Right, and that, oh god,
yeah. And I think another problem too is that, so, like, I think people that are very plugged into the game, like us, kind of read between the lines and saw strike CMs as like raid level content, or that's what I'm expecting. That's based on sort of what Colin said, and So I don't need net. I mean, I would love a raid, but if they do deliver and make Strike CM's raid level content, like I could like live with that, you know. But I think the issue that they run into is that they have to call they can't use the R word because there's so many damn casuals that will not touch the same piece of content named raids they would run away from screaming. But if they called it strike missions, they would actually be willing to try to engage with it. But the flip side to that is when you're trying to get people from outside the community to come try Guild Wars 2, they don't know what a strike mission is and they don't know what a fractal is, but they know what a raid is and they know what a dungeon is, you know? So like you have like this, they're painted into like this weird corner where they have to label things in a very like
Cryptic.
soft glove way to please the super casual player base that like rejects dungeons and raids. But to recruit WoW players or Final Fantasy players to actually give the game a try, they have to like actually have raids and dungeons, you know. So so I think like I'm aware that strike CMs are basically raids, and I think you're aware that that's probably the way they're going. But does that actually please the casuals? And at the same time, does it satisfy the people outside the game from other games who might be willing to give it a try? Like, is it the situation where they're trying to split the difference and pleasing nobody, or are they actually managing to please both?
Yeah, exactly. And I want to ask you exactly what you think ArenaNet should do about that. But first, I have to yell at someone in Twitch chat, so please bear with me. Right.
Oh, yeah. I know exactly what it's going to be.
Right. So recycled story content is better than standalone stories with actual interesting mechanics. No, but it is better than nothing. Okay? Seriously, someone link this shit, right? Where is it? Like, what's the github.io? It's on the table. Get me it's on the table.github.io, guys. Right. Here you go, guys. Do you want to see what you have right now? Are strike missions better than 789 days since last raid release? Yes. Are strike missions better than 327 days since the last fractal? Yes. Yes, they are. Is it perfect? No. Is it better than literally nothing? Yes. Seriously, guys, there are some people in the game where there was so little content that was released that they were actually forced to become cat boys. That's Rocker, by the way. I don't want to call him out, but he's actually a cat boy now, right? Because he has no choice. He had no choice but to become a cat boy, right? And overplay Guild Wars 2.
They didn't have to twist his arm that hard to get him to do it, though.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He probably leaning that way.
Oh, you think there's something more going on there?
I mean, Raka tries to say he's not a weeb, but like he knows every anime. He knows like if you're like, hey, that is that what anime is that from? He knows the answer. Like
what?
He protests, but he's very plugged in. So it's like it's kind of weird. Like I don't know.
But anyway, to steer it back on topic.
Yeah.
Sarah Bagadovia. I am curious. Nike, do you see a way out? Like, what is the play? Like, your arena, what's the play with regards to raids? Do you think that casuals would, for example, more casual players, do you think they'd be okay with, say, if they said, right, story mode raids, would that actually be the better linguistic approach there as opposed to strike missions? Because again, you're absolutely right, of course. The word raid and dungeon, these are things that are very, very ingrained in MMO culture, right? Like, once you sit down and it's when, oh yeah, you know, fractals are basically dungeons, then it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? But the thing is that if you say to, say, a World of Warcraft player or a Final Fantasy player, hey, dude, you got to come play these fractals of the mists, bro, they're like, the fuck is that? Like, what's a fractal of the mist? Like, what even is that? But if you say, come play a dungeon, right, they know exactly what you mean. Like, and they tell you exactly what that is. And of course, fractals kind of are that, right? But they don't know that at the time. Same thing with strike missions, right? And you know, I don't know. Like, what do you think is the solution? Like, what's the way to go?
I think you can keep the term strike missions, but then like just be specific. They just have to be specific. And maybe they will, once we get closer and they show off more of the features and we get closer, they will actually say the R word in association with strike CMs and say that like these are raid tier content. Strike CMs are raid tier content. That way, like you can go to the people from outside the game and be like, oh, they're adding 6 raid bosses or 5 raid bosses or 4 raid bosses at launch. Like that's what we're getting. Like I don't know how many it is. I think someone leaked 5, and that's like become like what people have attached to. But like, let's say it's 5. If you can go, if people like from outside the game be like, well, what is the end game content coming with the X Pack? You go, oh, well, there's going to be 5 raid bosses. Okay, got it. You know, like that's pretty understandable for most people. Like you don't necessarily have to like say the strike word to people outside. It's just being very careful about because unfortunately the words matter.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, go ahead.
This is something. Yeah. This is something that I think they could actually outsource to the community, because like if they're gonna do sponsored, streams for people that play other games, and like sponsored streams for like Guild Wars 2, because people will get interested and they're gonna start watching other Guild Wars 2 streamers. Like they actually won't have to say anything if they give like streamers a packet, like a documentation packet that's like, here are the talking points, here are the comparisons that you make or whatever. Like strike missions are like, it's like a raid boss rush. You just fight bosses over and over, and there's a hard mode, and Fractals of the Mist are our unique dungeon. And you can even give them like whenever, so this was the thing, like whenever Heart of Thorns is getting ready to come out, I'm pretty sure I can say this because like the stuff was like relatively public, I guess. Like they gave the partners access to like pre-recorded videos and like footage that they could use. So like they gave us like video clips of like the testers like fighting Gorseval and doing stuff, and we got to like check that out. And like I think they said like, you guys can use this, you can put it in your videos to give people an idea. And so like there's no reason that they couldn't, like, even if the sponsored streamers like don't give a fuck about playing the game, like if they're like, we're going to give you $1,000 to play these clips and go through these talking points for like a week on your stream for 10 minutes a day, or maybe 5 minutes a day. Like, I don't know what amount of time is the most valuable to the streamers, but like, if they did something like that, then the community could just handle that, and ArenaNet would never have to say the R word or the dungeon word or like whatever. Like they could literally just let like community members do it. And it's not like the community members aren't already completely carrying the company when it comes to like competitive stuff, like PvP tournaments, raid tournaments, like when we used to do the dungeon tournaments and stuff. Like we, like outside of like Grouch carrying the PvP scene for a long time, like he totally just carried the PvP and the competitive scene, and he like gave us like gems and stuff to give away at the dungeon tournaments. Like the community already carries all of that stuff. They could just continue to outsource that to the community, and they could completely avoid saying that and offending people or whatever, like people that don't want to hear raids or dungeons. Like it seems like a good play to me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You know, it's funny actually. You know, there is this certain level of community outreach that is incredibly effective. You know, if you look on YouTube, you see Guild Wars 2 videos that have like hundreds of thousands of views. Right? Like you could actually get a lot of work done there, I think, by doing that, like, and by engaging with the content. I mean, look, this is kind of the paradigm shift, right? And you know, without wanting to call ArenaNet a boomer company, yeah, they're a boomer company. Like if you take a look at Amazon's New World, right? Like this is a really good example of this actually. New World, guys, is unfinished. It is buggy. The systems are not even close to polished. It massively lacks content. It's a good game, but the combat isn't done. The systems aren't done. The content isn't done. Everything's a bit thinner on the ground. Everything is not really tuned very well either, right? And it also runs a bit like ass sometimes. But the thing is,
it kills GPUs.
And yeah, if you have an EVGA 3090, you don't anymore. And
killed Aints' entire farm. His entire farm went up in smoke.
And the thing is that game was like the hottest shit on Twitch, right, and on the internet for a period of time, and there was a huge amount of dialogue about the game because they engage with content creators. And there have been a lot of games there are a lot of games that have actually been carried really hard. Like, you know, like Among Us is a great example. I know that Among Us is not exactly an MMORPG, but I mean, Among Us got carried by Twitch. Apex Legends got carried by Twitch. I would even say that Fortnite to some degree got carried by Twitch a lot, particularly with Ninja, of course, like really blowing, you know, like going crazy there as well, right? It's actually insane, like how powerful this, you know, this kind of like the community side of things can actually be, right? If you just have a few couple of big streamers come out there, it gets crazy, right? And you know, it's funny, like it's honestly funny. I didn't realize how big this was actually. You know, I was looking at some Twitch stats the other day, and Summit1G streaming the game for like 6 days or however long it was more impactful than Elitist Raiding Party 3 on the game, on the actual numbers for the game. It was significantly more impactful actually than Elitist Raiding Party 3, and that was one streamer for like a week. Okay, like a week.
Granted,
and it was more impactful.
If you tried to pay him to do that, like that would be ANET's entire advertising budget. Like, the fact that he did it for free was nice of him. He was giving ANET like probably like $100,000 or more of free advertising, essentially.
Yeah, but the thing is that
at least $100,000.
But streamers do this for free. That's the thing.
That's the thing. If you create hype, you like grassroots hype.
Yeah.
Like, is how you get, because streamers are all hype beasts. They're all looking for the game that's gonna like bring eyeballs. And like even Summit was kind of shocked by the viewer numbers that he got playing Guild Wars 2. Like he was impressed. Like the first couple of days were huge. And like, but the way you generate that kind of like hype is positive word of mouth. And that starts by exciting your already committed community. If everybody in the Guild Wars 2 community who's already a player is like shitting their pants with excitement for this X pack and like telling their friends that it's going to be great and like hype, and like they have that energy crackling, like it will infect people and spread out. Guaranteed it will spread out and get to the point where people are talking about it outside the community just because of like the 6 degrees of separation. Like it will invariably, hype is infectious. It's like super infectious, which is a point I want to bring up, is that you see this like one head take on Reddit where it's like, I never see any ads for Guild Wars 2. It's like, dude, buying ads is about the worst use of money that ANET could possibly do in their marketing budget. Like literally buying like pop-up ads or like in browser ads for like, that would be like, they might as well just throw the money away and you know, like just buy cupcakes for themselves every day. Like ads do not, like the click-through rate, and then like think about like you buy like 100,000 impressions, right? And then maybe 1,000 of those click through, and then of that like 100 play the game, and of that 10 stick with it for more than a day. Like, come on, like that is the worst use of money I've ever heard in my entire life. Like that idea of market. So whenever Redditors are like, they need to buy more ads, it's like, come on, dude. Like you have no idea what marketing is, and you shouldn't be talking about it. Like that's like if ANET's a boomer company, like telling ANET to buy ads is like a fucking World War II generation take. Like that's like a greatest generation take. Like that's like Depression era marketing. Like, come on.
Some real old school. So yeah, it's true. Like, you know, the way the industry works has moved on, right? Like it's very different. Like the landscape of how it all fits together is incredibly different. And you know, again, like on the advertising thing, you know, you do have to give credit to ANET for actually trying to do this. I know that the execution on reaching out to some of these WoW streamers, like Limit Maximum, for example, maybe didn't go quite as intended. But hey, you know, like they're getting there. I think it was really hype. I was actually really excited, right? Because I heard about there was going to be a sponsor. I actually misinterpreted what he said, because basically he said I'm going to be doing a Guild Wars 2 sponsored show. I was like, holy shit, he's going to play the game. This is incredible, right? Now that didn't happen, and I did not quite understand. I assumed ArenaNet would ask the guys to at least play the game a little bit, or like get into it. But I don't know. Like that's an interesting one. You know, one thing that I'd really like to see actually, with this, and I wonder if ArenaNet would ever do this. I think this would be super cool actually. Like I think they should, if they wanted to do this with particular like streamers in WoW who are like into raiding, you know what they could do? They should say, you know what, we're gonna give you guys like max level accounts with meta builds, right? We're gonna give you an account. It's got full meta builds on it, and just go.
Just give them an armory,
like legendary armory.
Figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and like it's a test account, so obviously it gets wiped after they have their, you know, their sponsorship period or whatever. Like, and then to say, you know what, you guys like raids, we're gonna give you guys full legendary gear, so you can play around with all the stats, all the builds. We're gonna have everything unlocked on your accounts, and then bam, go play the raids, right? And you know, go and play some Guild Wars series. We'll put you in the, dude. We'll even put you in the aerodrome, so you don't get lost, and then bam, get in there and play some raids. I think that would be like a good way to kind of do this stuff, right? Because if you want a streamer to play your game sponsored, in my opinion, you don't want them leveling in Queensdale, right? Like particularly if they're a hardcore raider and their audience is into raids, or if their audience is into PvP, you don't want to see them like killing bandits, right? Like in the forest, right? In the jungle, right? You want to see them actually doing what they're interested in, right? Like get them in there and start playing. I think that will be something that'll be super cool. I think that that maybe would happen. I don't know how hard that will be to do for them to actually accomplish something like that. But, you know, it's an idea, right? Okay, that is, it's definitely, yeah, lock them in the aerodrome, guys. Lock them in there. Oh, yeah.
But again, like they, honestly, I hate to say it, but ArenaNet should not be targeting event limit raiders. You know, like their audience is just not the audience that, not only the audience doesn't want Guild Wars 2, but it's not the sort of audience, it's like a complete 180 from the audience that ArenaNet's been cultivating for the last 10 years. Like they honestly, like I said earlier, they need to find like the wooden potatoes equivalent, and that's the person that they should, you know, aim for. But you're totally right in that, like, you don't want the Queensdale, you don't want to pay a guy like or any big name streamer, be like, we want you to play Guild Wars 2 for 2 days, like, so 16 hours of Guild Wars 2, and they spend it all in Queensdale and like whatever the next zone is, Gendaran Fields. Like, you just, that's not what you want them to see or do.
Yeah. Actually, right, this is slightly off topic, but it is actually relevant. Guys, I think you all need to wake up. I'm gonna, right now, guys, you're about to get the hardest to swallow red pill you'll ever have in your entire life, guys. Okay? Look, do you guys seriously think that raids are alive right now? Do you guys seriously fucking think that raids are actually like, alive and active content? No, they aren't. So to say that, oh, it just sucks to only get strikes after years of nothing. Well, guys, seriously, you right now, okay, you are literally complaining, okay, about like being given medicine when you're on life support. Seriously, guys, you are currently in hospital with locked-in syndrome. You can't move. You can't do anything, right? And basically, you're complaining that, you know, like the doctors and your family members didn't pull the plug on you. Okay, that's what's going on. That's what you're complaining about right now. You're there, can't do anything, have no voice, totally irrelevant to the conversation. And like, oh, I think it's time to turn this guy off. I think it's time to end this guy, right? You know, like maybe donate his organs or something like that. That's what's going on with you right now. Okay, strike missions are literally the ultimate olive branch here, right? This is ArenaNet saying, hey guys, you know you irrelevant section of the community, like this game mode that like nobody fucking plays because it's way too hard for the average community member here. It's way too hard for most people. So you know how irrelevant you guys are? You know what? We actually care about you, and we actually agree with you that we need some kind of aspirational content. Cameron even did a podcast with Deeg, the big man Deeg, right, about this actually. He already talked about this and how they want to add aspirational content to the game, and they are making that work in a way that will work for you and for them. It's not that raids are off the table, it's that raids are unfeasible right now. Raids are impossible. Like, there's zero incentive for the company to actually add these because nobody plays them, right? So here's the thing. If you guys want raids, then you're going to have to actually shut the fuck up and accept some compromises because you have none of the power here. You have zero power whatsoever. You are irrelevant. You are not important in the democracy of Guild Wars 2. If you want raids, then you need to actually get with the program and try and make this work and try and actually find a solution that works for everyone. Like, if you can't deal with that, then I'm sorry, you're gonna have a very hard time in life, okay? Because it's not how it works, guys. You can't have everything perfect immediately. Okay, having everything immediately perfect is just unfeasible. It's never gonna happen. It's gonna be a long process. Right now, we're at the bottom, right? We are at the bottom, guys, okay, of the raid arc. Raids are the deadest they've ever been. We're right at the bottom, and this is ArenaNet saying, okay, we actually want to climb you guys out of this hole. Let's start by adding some content that's compatible with more, story-driven players and also more hardcore-driven players there. Maybe they would then add raids with a story mode in the exact same way that they're doing right now. Maybe they would take story bosses and story instances and make it into a raid as well, right? This is where it has to, and you might say, oh, Teapot, well, what if that doesn't happen? Well, you know what? If that doesn't happen, then raids are dead and I was wrong, okay? And that's fine. But either way, guys, raids die. So, again, this is irrelevant. Like, this conversation is irrelevant. And saying that, oh, what if that happens? What if this happens? It doesn't matter if that happens, because if that happens, then it's dead either way. And if it doesn't happen, then, hey, maybe at least we have a little bit of hope and that we have a potential to get out of the hole, right? Because otherwise, oh, no, what if they do this? Well, guys, okay, check the date, okay? Check the 785 days. Right? Go check that and then tell me that this isn't going to be an improvement and this isn't pretty much the only way out of this. That is the reality, okay? Simple as that. And guys, every single time I see people complaining about this stuff and not understanding their situation, not understanding like where you are. Okay, get out of your echo chamber, get out of your bubble, and recognize that most people disagree with you. Recognize that you are the minority in this situation and that raids are not like this ultra popular thing, guys. Okay, oh no, raids are not ultra popular. Raids are incredibly unpopular, right? And the moment you realize that and you understand that situation and you understand your situation, at that point you can actually start to become part of the solution as opposed to part of the problem. Because right now everyone here saying, oh, we're abandoned, oh, no, you're worse, you're irrelevant actually, okay? And that is far worse. Recognize it, understand it, and try and fix it. Right, rant over. There it is.
I think you're a little optimistic.
Yeah.
A little bit. Like, okay. You're talking about it like it's a stepping stone. I don't know if it's a stepping stone.
I don't think
it could be like a different elevator to somewhere else, but I don't know if it's a stepping stone back to raids. I think strikes could just be strikes with CMs forever.
This is possible.
Not progress anywhere, which would be fine if they're done right. That's like the caveat to literally everything. If fishing is done really well, it's going to be great. If the turtle is done really well, it's going to be great. If the story is told really well, it's going to be great. If the strikes are really fun and the CMs are challenging and fun, it's going to be great. And like, no one's going to complain. Everything hinges on execution and not necessarily concept at this point. Like, if you're still working at the concept of your game 9 years in, that'd be somewhat of a problem. At this point, it should just be about execution.
People will still complain regardless. Like, that's actually people will be mad, but like, this just comes back to like philosophy. Like, in Teapot and I've talked about this, and like Nike probably agrees, but like, just fucking doing something. Like, if you're doing something and trying to go forward, that's better than doing literally nothing. And like, just like, they're trying, like, leave them alone. Like, I'm just gonna say, like, honestly, just shut up and just see how it goes. Because like, what are you going to do? Like, what do you have in the meanwhile? Like, you can give them a chance. You can try to be productive, and you can try to like enjoy the time you have and enjoy the expansion when it comes out. But like, if you just want to fucking like hate on the game and like you're just hating on stuff right now, just do what I did and just stop playing it for a while and go like figure some shit out. And like, maybe it blows you away when it comes back. But like, if you're miserable, like you just hate everything about the game, then just like, why didn't you invest your time into this?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even think we sound particularly doomer on this. Like, I think we're just being honest and real. Like, even from the start, like people will leave a comment in the YouTube video on this TeaTime, and they're gonna say, like they always fucking do, well, I'm 1.5 minutes into this TeaTime, and already I have to disagree with Brazil. Already Nike's being an elitist. Already no one knows what they're talking about. That every fucking TeaTime has that comment. Everyone. Like, fuck off. Like, if you're leaving a comment like that, you're not enjoying the game. Like, you're not having a good time. You're just here to complain. Like, if you're just here to complain, fuck off. Like, go do something. Like, either go find something that, like, Guild Wars 2, like, has been shit for a while and, like, nothing's happened. But, like, honest to God, there are better things to complain about. Like, you can complain about how Jeff Bezos is rich enough to fly into space and how you live in the US and you don't have health care. That's good. Like, complain about that. Like, that's productive. Like, complain about something that's meaningful. Don't fucking waste your time going onto YouTube and to complain about how you got a minute and a half into a podcast and you already have to disagree with someone because you read something on Reddit and you think they're wrong. Fuck off. Holy shit. Just do something better with your time.
What you don't understand is that guy's the voice of the silent majority. Everybody's the voice of the silent majority. So, that's what you don't understand.
Fuck. I'm mad. Right. Here. Imagine being a doctor and doing surgery, you don't finish it and the patient dies. Well, better than nothing. No, the actual appropriate analogy is that a patient is 100% gonna die unless they have a risky surgery. If you do that risky surgery and the patient ends up dying, it was still correct over doing fucking nothing, right? It was still the right call. If they're dead in like 1 hour, or they have a surgery that has like a 50% chance or like 10% chance of curing the patient, right, then doing the risky surgery with a 10% chance of curing the patient, right, is obviously the right call. This is exactly what strike missions are. Yes, will strikes actually necessarily bring raids back? No, it's not one of, and I'm actually misunderstood it. I'm not talking here about a difficulty ladder, guys. No, I'm actually talking about something even more meta than that. Like, what challenging endgame content in Guild Wars 2 needs is it needs to actually be viable for ArenaNet to develop it, right? I think people really forget that ArenaNet are actually humans and they have to eat food and drink water and actually, you know, like pay rent as well. Holy shit, right? And this means that if they spend like 6 months developing a raid and then like 1% of the player base plays it and it makes like 50% of the players big mad, by the way, okay? Because, you know, believe me guys, okay, raids make some people in this game big mad, right? Then that was obviously a horrible investment of their time to do this, right? And strike missions are the solutions, or not strikes, but changing their approach is the way to do this. Do you guys want to know something fun? If you go through every single raid, you'll actually see that the amount of people who complete the raid over time goes down, right? And if you look through all the raid achievements, you'll actually find that the percentages goes down over time of the people who actually finish the raid, right? This means that if they keep doing the same thing, if they keep releasing raids in the way that they're doing right now, then it's going to eventually shrivel up and die completely. Bonus meme, by the way, the current raid scene wasn't satisfied by the current raids, particularly Wing 7. With Wing 7, they tried to make it a bit easier, to make it more accessible. Didn't work, by the way. People still couldn't do the raid, and it made all the raiders big mad because the raids are too easy, so that wasn't satisfactory for literally anyone right there. Again, ArenaNet recognizes that they need to do an actual paradigm shift here, and if they don't, then the raid scene is doomed. Okay, that's what I'm saying here, guys. I'm not saying that, oh, they're going to do a little ladder where they scale up to raids. No, that's not what I'm saying, guys. I'm saying that if they don't do something like this, then there will never be another piece of challenging group content in Guild Wars 2 ever, and you might as well quit or just go and play PvP or World vs. World. That is the deal here. That is the situation. They will either do this and find a new way to approach challenging endgame content with difficulty settings, or you will never get another piece of challenging content in the game ever. And you've got to quit and go play WoW or Final Fantasy. That is the situation. Okay, I'm not saying that, oh, difficulty ramp. No, I'm saying it's this or die, right? Like that, there is nothing in between here. It's that or die. And you have to quit the game if you only want to play raids. Okay, like that's how it is. Such race for legendary. Dude, listen, go do PvP or World vs. 1. You can get like 1 billion legendary armor there as well. Okay, you're good to go. Right? A lot of anger and yelling. Yes, I am angry because I feel like I am surrounded by fucking imposters, dude. Every single day where I stream this game, or whenever I have a conversation, I try to have a good faith, honest conversation about Guild Wars 2, about raids, about things. I feel like everyone around me is like sus, right? Constantly. I think that everyone, right, is actually sabotaging our operation here, guys. Because trust me, if you don't get with this program, you are actively sabotaging your chances of getting raid content or something like raid content, challenging endgame content in the game right now. If you push back against this and ArenaNet think it's not good, or if you push back about this just for no reason without actually giving valid and good critiques, then you are actively sabotaging your own enjoyment in the game. This is pure insanity here. Still talking about it? Yes, because it's important. The reason I'm still talking about it is because it's an important issue, guys, because I actually really like raids. The thing is, though, I'm actually fine either way, because I really like PvP and World vs. World. I am trying to save your sorry asses right now, okay, by changing the narrative on this and trying to make raids and raids a bit more popular. Honestly, I can live without raids. I'm actually happy with just like memeing around in open world, attacking things with my greatsword on Reaper and playing PvP and World vs. World. That's fine to me, right? It isn't to you though, right? But well, I don't think so, judging by like the way people are talking in the chat right now, okay? I'm trying to carry you, right? I'm trying to make sure that you actually do get some stuff, and I think we need to actually give ArenaNet positive feedback and, you know, a level of understanding and compromise here. Otherwise, okay, you're going to be fucking lying in the dirt holding an empty sack, okay? And you don't want that to be you, okay? Oh, my God.
It has been... Yeah. It has been nothing but an uphill battle for so long for all three of us. Because, like, seriously... Like, there was a time where, like, I was hitting ArenaNet and Guild Wars 2 from the aspect of, fuck your game, it sucks, none of you know what you're doing, you're all idiots. And I was being, like, negative and hateful on purpose because, like, that's the only way I thought that I could make an impact on the game. Like, I'll completely honest. Like, I thought that being an asshole tyrant was the only way I was going to do anything. And there were other people that would literally just get on their stream and do nothing but, like, praise and do like, you know, like sub trains and just like talk to people and whatever and happy joy, and like you have people that are just trying to be real and honest and like work hard and just carry the community, but none of those things worked. Like, and it seems like they didn't work for the longest time for like who the fuck knows what reason, but like now things are actually starting to look good. Things are actually starting to turn around. Things are actually starting to change. Things are actually starting to improve. And the company is trying to be benevolent. They're trying to help everyone out. They're trying to give people stuff. And people still have this shit piss attitude that like, oh, well, nothing's ever going to be good enough because I played Dungeons back in 2013 and that was the peak of the game. It's not. Fucking Dungeons in 2013 are the worst that this game has ever been, and you need to just open your eyes and realize that. Like that whole audience, like that thinks that way, just fuck off. Like if you're even still here, like seriously, like we have all busted our ass and put in a ton of work to make a ton of different content from all different fronts to approach this game, and like finally years later, like it started to pay off. Like I make very little Guild Wars 2 content at all anymore. Like I play the game, like I stream sometimes, but like that's it. That's my whole investment. And like it's incredibly rewarding to me when I see that like, hey, ArenaNet gives a fuck now. Like maybe they did all along, maybe they just couldn't because NCSoft was just stepping on their throat with their big shoes and like they just wanted the money. But like fuck, like who gives a shit if like the coolest skins in the game like are gym store skins right now? Like you have that like blood axe thing, like it's fucking awesome. But like if that's the direction it has to go, like if that's how they pay their rent and they eat their food, like I don't care. Like if I get strike mission CMs and I get to enjoy the game, but like the coolest skins go into the gym store, like whatever, I don't even care. Because like maybe I lost some of the battle where I was like really anti-gym store having all the cool stuff. Like Zach even made a remix about it. But like they're doing something and they're being benevolent and they're trying to help. And like, holy fuck, just like giving them it. Like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But just give them a chance because like we don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. Like we don't see the future. We don't know what's coming out. Like Who the fuck knows? Just like get off their ass, just give them a chance, let them breathe.
Yeah, I completely agree with this statement. Okay, I'm very tired of this because I actually wouldn't mind it. Trust me, guys, I love complaining. Okay, look, me, Brazil, Nike, we love complaining. It's why we have Twitter accounts. Okay, it's why we stream. We love complaining. But the thing is that a lot of these complaints that we're seeing right now, they're very self-damaging complaints, right? They are complaints that actually hurt your cause. If you're complaining about something, you should be saying, okay, this isn't good, and this is why, right? Okay, but the trouble is that we're giving really shit complaints that actually end up screwing us over time here, which is not good. Like, again, I just want to really reiterate this like one more time. The issue is here, guys, it's not that, oh, ArenaNet's shit at developing raids. The raids they release are actually pretty good. The issue is that the demand just isn't there and the scene isn't there. And you actually you can't do that artificially. You have to organically get more players interested in this content. And a really good way to do that is by having, you know, it's not even necessarily getting more players into the content. It's having the content that is raids be usable outside of it. Like, if every single raid had a story mode that basically 90% of people could play through, then raids would be being released a lot more right now. Like, and that's what they're trying to do with Strike Mission CMs, guys. With Strike Mission, they're saying, okay, so we already have these story bosses from the story of the game. Okay, well, great. Now, you can go ahead and play through the story. So we, you know, ArenaNet get their value out of everyone playing through the story. And there's another layer after that for the players who want to play the game a little bit more. This is like a game design conversation. This is a better design. Right now, raids are just not accessible. Most players cannot do raids. They can't even come close to doing raids. Okay, and listen, guys, I don't want to hear like, oh, raids are easy. Guys, go and watch. Actually, go and get a new account and play a few games in Silver, unranked PvP, and tell me that those players can do raids, right? Just go and fucking do it. I was playing unranked the other day, actually. I was on Reaper. I was doing some Safari, because, you know, Nike looks at the frog. I do Pug ATs and unranked PvP. I used Lich Form, and 4 frogmen. They ran at me, and they died 1v4, right? They did not hit me a single time, right? I killed them all with Lich Form auto attacks. They did nothing. They just rushed me and died within seconds, right? It was over for them almost instantaneously, right? There was nothing they could do, right? And you guys are telling me that these are like raiders? Like, these people are gonna like clear fucking Veil Guardian, dude? Okay, like...
Well, on the other hand, I watched Jebro's raid group that like got into like the whole Raka drama like a week ago or so. Like, they cleared Wing 4 last night. Like,
they did.
And like, they're green gear peepos, some of them. Like, they got it done. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. But the problem is, like, there's no will.
Exactly.
Whatsoever.
Yeah. The will is not there.
For the people that really wanted legendary armor, a certain percentage of people only raided for legendary armor. And that's probably a very big percentage of raiders only raided for legendary armor. Probably north of 60%. Whereas if there was no promise of legendary armor with Wing 1, they wouldn't even have touched it. But so legendary armor was like a huge carrot that baited people in. Once all the people that wanted the legendary armor got it, then they stopped raiding, and then the people that don't care about legendary armor, they're not going to start raiding. Like, they're not going to get into that. So where there's a will, there's a way. But the problem is there's just no will, and so either it has to be content that naturally draws people in, or it has to have like a huge carrot attached to it. And I think, like you said, the only way to really economically design that is if the content has multiple functions, like a story mode and a raid mode, like they're doing with the strikes. Yes, this is a good approach. Look, I know we've got a little bit off track here. Like, like, fuck. Listen, guys, if you can't tell, I've had this conversation quite a few times, right? Quite a few times. And I've got to say, it wears on me over time, right? I am now in the frustration phase, right? In the I don't want to have this conversation anymore phase.
Let's move on and get better as a community. Whoa.
Yeah, that's some serious thunder.
Ooh, that's intense. Okay, that is big, actually. But anyway, back to some other things. Right? What else happened? Some other things happened, right? Like, what's going on here?
Legendary Armory, great addition to the game.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
PSA:
pretty good.
if you haven't selected stats on your legendary gear, now's a great time to do that, because there's a lot of people running around open world who have chosen not to select their stats.
Oh.
Yeah, and they're happily going through the game with worse than white gear on. Like, literally worse than white gear on.
I mean, look, and bear in mind, those are players with thousands of hours, right? Because that's, of course,
yes,
legendary.
You don't get full legendary, full legendary.
Yeah.
Like, they're purple in every hole, but yeah, but they have no stats. It's amazing. Like,
do they have legendary runes with no runes selected, or do they have the runes?
Oh yeah, no runes. No, well, no, I don't think they have runes, because you can't put legendary runes in without picking. Like, the window won't close unless you pick a rune.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I just think they just don't have runes.
Yep.
So sometimes I'll see like the guy, he'll be like on Scourge with like no stats selected, no runes, no nothing, just plain blank legendary armor, and I'll go, "Hey bro, what rune set are you running on your Scourge?" And they'll like reply, if they reply back to me, it's like, still working on it. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're working on it at least. But it's just so funny, like that you give people an inch of rope to hang themselves with, and they immediately make a noose out of it. Like, it's amazing.
Is that the true endgame content? Basically being on Safari, Guild Wars 2 Safari, like the ultimate, the frog, right? Like taking a look at the frog, examining it. But anyway, so I think the next thing here is, how do we see the kind of build-up and promotion towards the expansion going? Because it looks like we're going to be getting a stream every few weeks going over all three of like a block of elite specializations in one go. For example, it's going to be Friday the 13th. We're going to be getting stuff about the Virtuoso, the Necromancer pistol spec, and the Guardian, maybe? Guardian?
Yeah, probably.
With the dual sword, which seems to be the most likely one for that. And then, of course, then the beta will start very shortly after that, where you'll be able to test these things out. Like, what are you expecting from this in terms of like the height? Are you expecting like a deep dive, or kind of like a brief overview, more like what we saw with the Virtuoso in the actual announcement stream?
I think they'll do like they did with the Virtuoso, but they will also show traits.
Okay, so a bit more, like a little bit more.
Yeah. I think they're going to show the Virtuoso traits too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I think that would be, I would be disappointed if they didn't show the traits, because I think, well, to be frank, like the traits can sometimes be more important, or well, quite often are more important than the weapon, right? Like that can be an incredibly important thing to see how things might actually interlock there with all that stuff there as well. And the other thing I want to speculate on here, actually, this is like a big one. So we've seen the Virtuoso's design, and the design is actually not completely busted, right? It is not broken. It seems to be on the surface a pretty well designed elite specialization. I mean, do you guys think that's going to be a theme that continues? Do you think they've kind of learned their lesson a little bit from particularly Path of Fire, where they, where they added Path of Fire to the game and changed the game forever? What do you guys think about that?
They need to nerf the shit out of the POF elite specs, like for the most part. Like they just like Firebrand. Like I'm just gonna be real here. Like Firebrand, the tomes baseline need 3 pages, and then the traded tomes need 5 pages. Like you have to hit it that hard. Like you have to hit the amount of damage that it can do. Like it is absolute. Firebrand is just a really potent example because it does every single roll phenomenally well. Like it heals and gives permanent quickness, and like it's not just like a little bit of healing. Like you can full heal people with it. Like if you're good enough, you can just straight up like full heal carry an entire raid while you give people like infinite boons. Like it's busted. Like power DPS, Dragon Hunter is busted. It does a shit ton of DPS. It's really easy to play. Like condition damage, it does a shit ton of DPS. It's like actually like broken damage. It's completely busted. In like even Core Guardian, you can do a ton of damage on Core Guardian with like a power build. Like you can just like play the game for free, and like if you figure it out, you can just run over everything. And like it's just the class is absolutely broken, and they need to just go through and just gut it. Like I play Firebrand, I love Guardian, like I play DH, but like I don't love it so much that I want the game to be easy mode because I play it. Like I love it so much that they need to just like nerf it into the ground to make the overall gaming experience better for everyone. Like same thing with Necromancer. Reaper is like borderline unkillable and it self buffs itself and it runs around and does a ton of damage. And Scourge is probably the most single broken thing they have ever added to the game at all. Like everything broken that has ever been in the game, Scourge is probably the most broken, and it has lasted for years. It's been a long time. Like I think it's been years. I'm pretty sure it's been years. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been in the game. And it's been busted as absolute shit. Like you got to do something about it. Like you've got to just like gut it.
Nah.
Like
my take's totally different.
Okay.
We're over. The era of like trying to rein in PvE balance is over. Just let the hogs run wild. Like just
unleash.
Just like I mean, obviously you want to keep like all the specs like relatively close to each other and like damage potential and stuff like that. But like, I mean, who cares if something's like got a lot of utility at this point? Like, if this was like a year into the game, okay, then yeah, like you gotta like really rein stuff in. But now it's like we're in like the Urson Way phase of
the PvE skill, the PvE skill phase,
yeah, where you get just like a busted ass spec that like you can just face roll the entire end game with. Like, just like let people go nuts at this point. Like, if it invalidates like old raid records and stuff, like whatever. Like, you know.
Well,
that said, the new specs are quite interesting because the Virtuoso seems like it's like designed to be like 75% a world v world spec, 25% a PvE spec, and like not really a lot of potential in SPVP. I could be completely wrong about that, but it does seem like it has a more narrow focus. And the interesting thing will be to see whether ArenaNet sticks to their guns with designs like that, because in the past they have done narrow focused specs and then caved. Like Spellbreaker was very obviously supposed to be like a world v world PvP spec and out of the gate, and like it wasn't supposed to be for PvEers to like, you know, it wasn't supposed to be the DPS spec. It was like, obviously Berserker is your DPS spec. If you want to play a DPS build, you play Berserker. So Spellbreaker isn't for you. But understandably, people who play PvE and play Warrior and paid for Path of Fire get an elite spec that they're like, well, this doesn't feel like I got anything in this X pack. Like I didn't get an elite spec. I essentially got like nothing. And everyone else is like going apeshit over their Firebrand. Whereas I'm here like still playing Berserker. Like, so they caved and they buffed like Spellbreaker damage by like 25% and to make it a PvE spec. And they did the same thing with Daredevil. Daredevil out of the box, the entire point of Daredevil was to give fucking uber casual thief players their sniper RP spec. And that's all it was their sniper RP spec. Yeah, Deadeye. Sorry, not Daredevil. Deadeye. Deadeye was supposed to be like their RP spec. And then people complained, well, it sucks in every game mode. It's like, yeah, it's supposed to suck. It's an RP spec. It's for role players. But they caved and they buffed Deadeye to be good in other game modes. So they did not. I think the POF specs started a little bit more narrow than they have become. Obviously, stuff like Scourge and Firebrand were just crazy outside of the box, but other stuff kind of expanded outside of the roles that they intended it to be. And the fact that the Virtuoso seems to be kind of a more narrow spec than the POF specs makes me wonder if ArenaNet's going to stick to their guns on that, or if because what I think might happen is beta weekend happens. We get to play these specs and raids,
and people complain about it.
And the Snow Crows, or I know you're thinking of doing the contest where you put like a bounty on the highest benchmark.
Yeah.
What if the highest benchmark? Bad takes. Shut up. What if the highest benchmark that people can pull with the Virtuoso is like 28K?
Uh-oh.
You think people are going to start? The alarm bells are going to start going off. I think there'll be quite a bit of crying if that's the case. If the highest spec that like the biggest tryhards can come up with is like 28K, they will cry. PvE players will cry until that fucker's doing 35K by the last beta. Guarantee you. And maybe that's what ArenaNet wants. Maybe that's what ArenaNet intends. They want to like put it out there, let people play with it, tweak it. But I suspect that they could get the number they want out of the box. And if they don't want a PvE spec, then the question is whether they cave or not.
I think that I think it's okay if I understand that people want their spec to be good in the game mode that they play, right? I definitely think it's good. It's a good idea to have certain design elements consigned to different modes. For example, I mean, look, I was going to say it, guys. You could definitely sell me on the idea that Scourge was added because ArenaNet hates PvP in World versus World, and they wanted those game modes to die. Like, you could. Yeah, you know what? You could actually sell me on that.
Scourge is the Urson way of World v. World.
Yeah, that's something that I could believe. I mean, obviously, I am joking there, right? But yeah, there are obviously some elements of design that should just never actually go into different game modes. But I actually have to disagree with you a little bit there, Nike. Like, I think that the existing design of Elite specs is terrifying, actually, for current PvE and new PvE. I think stuff like Heal Scourge, even existing, is a huge problem for any strike mission they release. Okay, because of how powerful the build is. I think I would even go as far to say that stuff like Condition Damage Firebrand or regular, just DPS Scourge is so strong. Or like Heal Ellie existing in its current state with like 10 target healing. Or the amount of boon output you can get and boon extension for stuff like Chrono. It's so powerful that they kind of have to design content around that in a way. Like the fact that exists means they have to design content around that, otherwise it will be trivialized. And this actually is, in my opinion, a really big problem for the new Elite specializations, because I think that if they actually design them well, which, judging by Virtuoso, I think it is well designed actually in terms of its profession mechanic, this actually really scares me for the new specializations, because I think a lot of design in the game right now, like from Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire, just in terms of mechanics, like the mechanics are so strong, like Shades, Tomes, right? Like all this stuff here, like, and so like Spellbreaker and World, it's so powerful on a mechanical level that if you have something that is a little bit more sensible, a little bit more sane, a bit more toned down, a bit better designed, then it's just not gonna be good. Wait, are you showing feet, Brazil?
No, I just got up and walked out of my room and then walked back in.
I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, just a few people were, they were looking somewhere, they were looking for the feet, But
if you want to see my feet, go buy my artwork. You go to underworldvideo.com and buy my artwork, and then I'll send you a picture of my feet.
You NFT, like foot NFT.
You can buy. I'll make an NFT of my feet if you want to buy it.
Can't you min-max any class? So yes, you can. But this is I actually have a video.
The issue is that Scourge and Firebrand have incidental utility, even
and it's very strong. Yeah, like
so that.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I think part of the issue is an engine thing, or just like stuff that they haven't implemented, where they could make boon stuff scale with boon duration better. You know what I mean? So like, so at base, like with 0% boon duration, the quickness on Firebrand is like fuck all, but like with like a decent investment in boon duration, it gets good again. Sort of like how like the heals on Druid were changed, where if you have no healing power, it like doesn't do very well, but like when you have an investment in healing power, it like actually starts to get pretty good. And they don't necessarily, like, that's the problem, is like, and the same thing with Scourge, where it's like you shouldn't just get this Omega barrier spam that you could give even on the DPS build. Like, you should have to invest to get that and like sacrifice DPS. So I don't know, they probably need to hit the incidental utility on these things.
Yeah.
To make them in line.
I think that's exactly right. The only thing that bothers me about that is I think they shouldn't do that. I think they should let the hybrid specs be hybrids. I think they should actually nerf the damage. I think Scourge and Firebrand should both do because otherwise I think you just end up with a Trinity game, and I think Trinity is boring, right? I like the fact that Scourge sacks damage in exchange for a unique support feature, which is this barrier, like cleanse capacity, right? And this, the range, the fact that it's ranged, right? I think Arena needs to respect range damage is an advantage. So a spec that does range damage should do less damage than a melee spec, for example, right? And Scourge is the epitome of this, right? Like Scourge is literally pure range. It's nothing melee, right? On Scourge, you can always it's just like Papa Nemesis said, right? DPS uptime, and Scourge is probably the only thing that has like close to 100% DPS uptime. You can just perma attack the boss no matter what. And this is the issue, Quambot. Yes, exactly. Look, this is a hot take, guys, but Scourge should probably do like less than 30k DPS. Like that's how good it is. And Firebrand is honestly borderline there. Yeah. Like Firebrand should maybe do like low 30s, right? And then
I remember for a while Quickbrand was benching like 25k. Like there was a point where that was the case, and I think that was probably, and people still used it. It was perfectly fine.
Yeah, because it was still really good. That's the thing. And this is kind of on the community. ArenaNet see these complaints, right? They because ArenaNet obviously saw people complain about Necro, right, for a really long time. But I don't know. I felt they should have known better in a way. Like because ArenaNet should have just been like the fucking Chad Sigma or whatever gamer. And just said, guys, Scourge is fine. You guys are bad, right? That's the correct response ArenaNet should have said there. But they actually caved and gave Scourge like a ridiculous damage buff to the point where it does like 36k DPS and has stupid utility, right? Like ridiculously overpowered utility. And I don't think that's good. And it's kind of similar with Firebrand. They're like, oh yeah, oh don't worry, poor little Guardians. You can do like, you can do nearly 40k DPS and still have tomes. Like, don't worry about that. It's okay. That's how it goes, right?
And it could be that we're going to get a big balance patch where, because at the end of HOT, the HOT specs kind of did it all. Like you had like some HOT specs were like the best for Condi and the best for power, and also you could play like a healer with them or like a support spec with them. Like they could do it all, and then they kind of like cut them back down into their lane.
Yeah.
And I think like that's probably fine. I think you're probably right. I changed my opinion that Firebrand should just be the support spec, and the damage should kind of be gutted.
Yeah, so, and I'm not saying, and guys, I want to be super clear here. I'm not saying that Scourge should be nerfed until it's bad. It's just that, in my opinion, there are so many super cool builds that get overshadowed, right? And so many things that are irrelevant because of how ridiculously high the power level is. Like, this is my new favorite example, guys. There's actually a Weaver build right now. Well, it's an old Weaver build that was made by a guy called Lemon Dealer, where you play water on Weaver, and you're like a Condi heal hybrid build, right? In my opinion, this is super cool. It did at the time, it benched around like 25k DPS, and it applied Soothing Mist, healed a whole bunch, cleansed Condis, and did Condi damage. A build like that it's really cool on a mechanical level, right? The idea, I love it. I love the fact that, you're using your entire toolkit as an Ellie to do something and you perform more than one role at the same time. In my opinion, Ellie is inherently hybrid because it has 4 achievements, in the same way that Firebrand is inherently hybrid because you have tomes, in the same way that Scourge is inherently hybrid because you have all your shade skills with Barry and stuff. You have support built into your kit. But the issue is that this Ellie build is absolute garbage because the power level on it is so low, and it will never be high enough. Like, if that makes any sense, guys, right? Like, there's almost nothing you could do to actually make this good because of just how much weaker the build is mechanically, right? Like, it doesn't provide enough compared to the very minimum of something like Scourge. And this is what really worries me. In my opinion, there are loads of like super cool builds that you could play right now that you would never even dream of playing because of how insanely high the power level is on certain specs, particularly when it comes to doing support and damage at the same time there, right? Like, that is my concern with this, is that there might be loads of cool ideas they're going to introduce with the expansion that just suck, right? That just aren't good, right? Compared to like a lot of the other things that are currently in the game right now, which is why I do think we need to have a serious look at some of the elite specializations that currently exist within the game. But I think that the two real big ones are Firebrand and Scourge for sure. We're talking PvE here. Obviously, Firebrand kind of a bit shit. But this concerns me with World versus World too. Because, you know, look, anyone who's played World versus World is probably, you know, is going to realize that Firebrand probably isn't going anywhere. Spellbreaker probably isn't going anywhere unless something similar or like comparable to Winds of Disenchantment comes out there. And a lot of the builds that are in World versus World, and you know, same thing with, well, with Necro. Maybe like the new Necro spec is like mega busted, right? And you run that instead of Scourge. But again, like Scourge is so good that it's probably not going anywhere. Like as of now, like with the information we have now, you know, it's not, well, which is not much, I guess. So maybe it's too early to speculate, but it's not going anywhere. So yeah, you like Virtuoso might be like super cool, but again, if the design on it just can't compete with what's currently in World versus World, then even if it's really cool and well designed, it just won't see play because stuff like Winds of Disenchantment is amazing. Scourge is really, really good. Right, you know, because all this range pressure, all the range damage, range corrupts is just so strong, so hard to deal with, right? If you have like this melee glass cannon, like mega AoE, like DPS spec, I mean, it's a really cool idea, but does it have what it takes? I actually think that Virtuoso like may well do, but again, like
I think it will.
It's got to be goddamn compelling. Like there better be some pretty impressive traits and numbers on Virtuoso, because otherwise it's going to have difficulty, and the difficulty is going to be that it isn't as bloaty, right? Like Virtuoso is just insanely bloated. Virtuoso is just not that bloaty, which is good design. I'm praising ArenaNet there, but the issue is it's competing with Omega bloat, right? That currently exists in the game, and that might be scary. I want to see Firebrand get replaced, right? I want to see a Guardian stability alternative, right? But the thing is, I think it's super difficult to do that in World vs. World because Firebrand heals, right? Gives a shit ton of fucking boons and gives the best stability that currently is in the game right now, and revives too with Signet of Mercy. That's one hell of a package, right? That is like, holy shit, that is like a big, like, wow. That is like the complete thing that you want for World versus World, right? And it's going to be difficult to actually kind of break that. And I almost feel the same way in a lot of the other game modes as well. It's that, you know, when the new Necro Elite spec comes out, am I just going to want to play Scourge? Because Scourge is just absurd right now in PvE. Because, you know, it's funny, actually, because this has already happened. By the way, guys, I'm not actually speculating here. I'm telling you guys the truth. Do you guys know why I only play Necro these days? It's because, in my opinion, Necro is the highest win rate, right? I only play, like, the really busted shit because I like winning. I like clearing the content. I like clearing the raids, and this is where I really sympathize with a lot of Weaver players, actually, because it's like, dude, why am I playing Weaver when, you know, I'm actively basically like borderline griefing, right, by playing this? You know, just play fucking 6 Scourges and away you go, and you're going to win, right? And this is something that I think already is in the game, and I think if ArenaNet aren't careful and don't go back and fix some of this stuff, then it will persist, right? Because it sucks. Look, guys, I used to play fucking Weaver. I used to play shit like Chrono Tank, right? I used to play other classes. I used to play Hollowsmith, okay, guys? Can you believe it? But nowadays, I play Scourge and Heal Ellie, because it's busted, right? I played these specs because they make me win, and I like winning. And the thing is, unless ArenaNet completely, like, just say, you know what, dude? We're unchaining. We're making the most overpowered spec to ever have existed. Like, oh, no, man. Like, Scourge is one hell of a... It's a beast mode, you know? Like, that, it's a monster, right? Scourge is a monster, right? In every game mode right now. And honestly, even in PvE. People sleep on Scourge in PvE, but it annihilates PvE. It destroys the integrity of PvE. Permanent range damage, 20k HP, baked-in support, a revive that's actually a DPS increase, Signet of Undeath, right? Epidemic to annihilate everything, Condi Cleanse, purely ranged, and it can CC as well. I don't know, like, this is... I don't know, dude. Like, this is a disgusting spec, right? Like, it's absolutely insane. Like, it shits on everything, right? There's a reason why, if someone says to me, like, I want to clear 100 CM, what do I play? I'll just say, fuck it, dude. 3 Necros, 1 Rev, 1 Heal Firebrand, and boom, it's dead, right? Like, there's nothing that can stop you. And this is a big problem here, in my opinion, because, this makes it hard to design PvE content. It makes it very hard to design PvE content, in my opinion, because because PvE content kind of has to deal with this, right? It has to be able to actually handle this level of balance within the game, right? And that means that you kind of have to design it around this. Otherwise, it will just get like completely steamrolled, which I don't think is going to. I think it's very, very scary, actually. But I don't know. That's my extended take on balance and elite specialization design.
Brazil's muted.
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
yeah.
I wasn't pressing my push to talk. I forgot.
Yeah.
It's just like I was out really late last night working and I'm tired. But like it's just kind of like things right now, like there have been things in Guild Wars 2 that like we have thought were severely more broken than like they actually were like at the beginning. And like part of it is because like we didn't really have the metrics to determine like how broken something actually was. Like we could only like speculate and we could only make spreadsheets and fake math. And that's like the best that's like the best metric we had to determine if something's broken. People thought like, oh yeah, warriors and like 4 warriors and a mesmer, that's broken. Like that's the best way to do it. And we realized like, oh, it's not. But like not only is fucking like everything broken right now, like we can just see like how broken everything like actually is. Like we have DPS meters and we can tell like this person like does not like they could be sitting upside down in their chair for all we know, and they're still doing 25k DPS on Veil Guardian because they're playing Firebrand. Like who the fuck knows? Like we have access to like all of these like metrics and data and stuff and like DPS meters, and like some people have gear check even, LOL. But like I think like there's just a combination of like having access to a lot of information like about the game and like more that we've ever had, and also having stuff that's like more broken that we've ever had. And it's just kind of like it's just kind of frustrating, and it's even more frustrating when we have all this stuff that's totally broken and you have people like in the open world on Octovine that are doing like 300 DPS. And it's just like there's just such a disparity and like such a giant divide. It's just like it's immensely just like frustrating. Like there's a lot of shit that's just like it's just frustrating to see. It's just like what the fuck's happening. Like I don't know. There's in like it's just like borderline just confusing even. Like it's just kind of like why is this broken, and like why isn't everyone taking advantage of it? Like why isn't it being fixed? Like who knows? Like it's just a mishmash of all this stuff. And like ArenaNet has access to like stats that we don't have. Like they told us, I think was it that like the good players do on average like 10 times more DPS than like the regular players. Like it's like 10 times more damage. Like if there's someone doing 30k DPS in a raid, it means that there are other people doing 3k DPS, and they could be playing literally the same spec. Like what? Like what the heck? And like I think a lot of this comes down to like there's stuff that's so immensely broken, but like people don't know what to do with it. And like Dragon Hunter and Firebrand are like really easy to play. Like the damage specs like aren't even that hard. But like just to like bring this into something else, and like we can go back or revert or whatever, but it's like tutorials. Like nothing shows you how to play it. Like you have to go to like a Snowcrow's website and like look at a DPS benchmark and like read a rotation and watch a video, and it's like, oh, okay, like this is what's actually teaching me to play the game. Like the game doesn't show me anything useful or valuable, and like it doesn't like there are like weird synergies that don't matter, and like you think you have a build but like it's not that great. Like you don't know what stats to pick, and like we've beat this topic to death also, but it's just like it's this weird fusion of like lacking information, but like if you know where to find the information, it's like it's there, and like stuff's broken, but if you don't know how to use it, like it's not broken. Or like you have like a heal scourge that knows what they're doing, and they res 9 people on Keep Construct 3 times in the same raid group, and like the people like don't know that like They don't know that they're just sabotaging themselves. All they know is that they kill the boss and like I'm never gonna raid again because it was easy. Like,
and then they kick the Scourge from the group for having low DPS.
Yeah.
That's just the best. Is like when they completely misattribute like who's carrying who in pugs.
Yeah, there's just a lot about it that's just like confusing and frustrating. And like I don't know, like it feels that stuff like that's worth saying. Like maybe it like shifted the topic a bit, but just lol. And I don't know, I don't know.
Well,
yeah,
I think at least swinging back to the X Pack, I think the Virtuoso has a lot of potential, especially in World v World. I think that's like sort of the consensus of like what they showed. Like the toolbox it has is like primarily World v World. I think there probably could be PvE depending on the traits and stuff. But like my understanding, and like I'm not like a World v World person, is that people are already sort of using Mesmer, like with focus poles to like set up spikes and set up like bombs in like organized groups. Maybe that's like a GVG thing. I don't know. But like Virtuoso seems like it could do that, but like 10 times better.
Yeah.
So
I think that is definitely something that will be there, because yeah, you're absolutely right. Like Mesmer right now is kind of like a utility bot. It has like a bunch of really good skills, stuff like Illusion of Life, right? Gravity well, right? Like all that kind of stuff. Like Focus Pull, obviously. There's a lot of like really good stuff, like good skills, but not like a cohesive build. And that's why I think where Virtuoso could actually come in. Like Virtuoso, because it's not restricted by clones, which obviously kind of struggle in World vs. World, as you might expect. It has this new mechanic with blades. That actually, I think, massively increases the likelihood that there will be an actual cohesive build that works. And I think that's really good. And this is what I want to see. I you're absolutely right when you were talking about like a little bit more specialization, a bit more, narrow design space. For the builds. I actually hope they kind of follow through with this. I would like to see the Necro spec actually be like very support-oriented. I'd love to see the Guardian spec be kind of, pretty glass cannon-y, right? Like very, very mobile, a bit squishy, but, give up a lot of like the usual kind of Guardian innate defensive powers that it might have. And, the same thing with Virtuoso, right? Like it should be something that's going to be really, really good at dealing with cleave situations. It's got some big AoE impressive moves there as well. And it can survive in a bit of a brawl, which by the looks of it, I actually think that in particular, that there's like the block attack it has where it like does loads of AoE damage. I think that's going to be pretty spicy, right? Like block everything and do AoE damage at the same time. That sounds like, pretty good. Sounds like a World vs. World. Yeah.
It sounds like a Spellbreaker move, but
yeah,
good.
But yeah, it sounds pretty cool right there. So yeah,
and I think a trait that makes it do a 3-second daze, no problem.
No.
Just that's a Grandmaster trait. Perfect.
3-second daze and 3-second immobilize as well. Like, ooh, yeah. Now we're talking, right? Like, yeah, let's go. That's gonna be some good stuff. But yeah, I think it's definitely a very, very promising design. Actually, I'm very hopeful for what ArenaNet has in store here, and I'm very excited to see the elite specs. Like the elite specs are going to be, that's definitely the big thing for me. Like for me, that is the big thing. Is going to be.
I would pay $25 just for 9 elite specs.
Oh.
Like the rest of the expansion, like if they were like, here's your expansion, but in a year we're gonna have 9 more elite specs. We're gonna charge you $25 for that. I mean, I would pay for that, no problem.
Yeah. See, a train of thought is, what does this cost? Oh, I feel like I'm responding to chat too much in this podcast. No, that's not the train of thought. The train of thought is that the goal of your game, right, should be that every profession has some kind of role to play in every situation or most situations, right? It doesn't have to be the same. It has to have a role. For example, obviously if you look at something, take a look at Soul Beast. Like I think Soul Beast is the best example of it. I think ArenaNet tried to do this. So I think Soul Beast was actually intended to almost be a Guardian replacement in Path of Fire, because it has the stance share, and it has like loads of stuff that's actually really good for World vs. World. For example, You know, if you look at Dolyak stance, it gives stability, AoE with the stance share. Great. That's a big plus for world versus world. It actually has some other cool stuff. It has damage reduction, and it makes you immune to immobilize and stuff like slowing conditions. This is like a god tier skill. Actually, like an amazing skill for world versus world. And yes, I am aware, guys, that Soul Beast sees plays in GVG, but I'm talking about like broad, like big world versus world zergs with this stuff. Like this, in my opinion, was a really cool way that you can have something that is a bit like Firebrand, but not really. And when I say Firebrand, I mean like the stability roll. So it gives stability, but wait, it doesn't heal, right? It would maybe do damage instead and provide some other utility with the stance share. That's not making the classes the same, right? That's a different way of performing a similar role. But then you'd have no healing, right? So you'd have to, instead of having everything bundled into one on the Firebrand, you'd have to have, say, oh, now you're going to take like a heal Scrapper or a heal Tempest that fills out the healing that you don't have, but now you've got the Soul Beast, so you've got some super speed on that, you've got extra stability, you've got immunity to immobilize, right, and chills and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's different. It's a different way of performing a role, and it provides value in that game mode. Like, that's the goal with Elite Specializations, is filling these holes. And I think they'll try it again with Ranger, by the way. Right? I think
I'm also not opposed to the idea of specs doing the same thing that another spec of that profession already does. Like, I don't have a problem with the new Guardian spec doing what Dragon Hunter does, which is power DPS, right? Like, as long as it has a different feel to it, as long as as long as the gimmick is different, as long as like when you play Berserker, it feels different than like a Core Warrior or a Spellbreaker. That's just the same. If this spec doesn't feel like Dragon Hunter, I'm perfectly fine with it being a power DPS spec. Like, that would be okay. That cool. Like, so they can, and eventually they can't just keep filling in holes in the profession role, because eventually, like, let's say there's 2 more expansions for Guild Wars 2, like eventually you do get to the point where you're gonna have to repeat yourself in terms of like what the specs can do. So as long as it's fun, it's fine by me if it's redundant. Yeah.
I'm ready. I am ready for the big hype. Have we actually kind of gone over everything? I feel like we've gone over most of the things that have actually happened. Like marketing fiascos, announcements, okay? Yelling at the Twitch chat. I think this is a pretty complete, we had a pretty complete package today, actually. I love to see it. Is there anything that you guys think we should talk about that we haven't
I want to give kudos to Grouch.
Oh.
I was a little harsh on him the other day in chat.
Oh, but, okay. Yeah, he came to debate you. That was good, actually. Yeah, he heard you were talking smack.
He stepped up. But so I think what happened was when they had to announce that there wasn't going to be a Friday stream, like the community, like the narrative started like shifting down, like people started memeing. People were like, oh, I thought we were getting a tidal wave of information, like using ArenaNet's own words against them. And now you're like going radio silent again. And Grouch saw that like the sentiment was like sort of turning against them. And bam, what does he do? He comes out and leaks the Guardian spec thing and gives the date for the next live stream. And immediately sentiment turns around in the right direction. So it was a quick thing. Grouch, his job isn't community manager, but he's doing it. So kudos for doing I guess someone else's job.
And this is a very general topic here, actually, but I have to say, overall, I'm definitely very impressed with ArenaNet in this regard. I think I changed the stream title to the End of Dragon instead of like the new ArenaNet, because I think that was it's a stupid title, to be honest. But I do think we are actually in the era of the new ArenaNet. I think they are definitely learning and adapting to the environment they find themselves in, and I have to definitely give a lot of praise to the ArenaNet team, actually, with regards to like what they've actually been doing with communication. I think they've stepped up a lot. Balance patch, please, by the way, guys. We've had Scourge for a little bit too long in PvP right now, but you know what? It's okay. Like, we can work with this. But no, I think they actually have really stepped up. I love that they're trying to reach out to streamers. They are trying to communicate a lot there, and they're doing all these Twitter teasers of all the elite specializations, right? We're gonna be. I've got to say, I am really, really interested in seeing all the live streams revealing all the mechanics, because I imagine they're going to reveal all the other mechanics. Right? We have a lot of unknown There's, I think, 2 more unknown masters that we don't know about. They'll probably maybe show off some meta events, right? They'll show off a few, show off some of the maps there as well, because I think that was one thing that I really missed, actually, in the expansion, is they didn't actually show any content, right? They didn't show any actual content, right? They didn't show like, much of the maps or like an event or something going on, like a big boss that you might be fighting. I guess they didn't want to spoil too much, I guess, which is fair enough, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen that. So I think they'll be going over masteries, mechanics, and maybe even having beta weekends for that. Because I know that in the final beta weekend, you actually get to use the turtles, which will be interesting. Okay, let's see if you can use them in World versus World or not, I suppose. But yeah, no, I think I'm actually really excited to see the hype build, because I think that I do genuinely think that ArenaNet's got a good strategy here. It's a bumpy ride. Okay, we're definitely in for a bumpy ride from now until the expansion. It's going to be bit of a trek, right, to get through the months with not really that much going on in the game, of course. But I think that ArenaNet is onto a winner here, like doing weekly, maybe not weekly streams, but like bi-weekly or like monthly streams to keep people in. I think monthly's not enough. I hope they do like 1 every 2 weeks or something like that to keep people engaged and keep people switched on and getting excited about something and showing something off every week. Like maybe even, I don't know. The annoying thing is about the strikes, I would really love them to show off the strike missions, but they can't do that, right? Because they're story bosses. Oh no, we've been thwarted. But yeah, I think that will be, maybe if they have like one that isn't a spoiler, they could show it off. Maybe ArenaNet, maybe you could show us a little little strike. But I don't know.
You know what I want to see?
What do you want to see?
This is completely and totally like legit, like real. I want to see fucking ArenaNet sponsor Deeg to talk with the people, like the devs. He's already doing it. Like he's basically doing it for free. Like he's had some like, and I don't think Josh Foreman is at the company more, but like he's talked with like devs and like people, and he's talked with them for like literally hours about like shit that goes on with the game, and like he's fucking doing it for free. Like it's like he asks some good questions, like they talk about good shit. Like holy shit, give Deeg some fucking money and have him on the ArenaNet channel and have them interview the devs, because like he's a badass. Like he's doing some cool shit. Like he's interviewed me, he's interviewed Teapot. Like maybe he interviews Nike, I don't fucking know. But like
you're never gonna do that.
Maybe not. But like if you don't know who he is, like I think his Twitch is like Deeg, DEEG TV. Like he's awesome. Like that would be a great sponsored streamer. Like we could get some like good info. Maybe they could go in and like talk with him like more in depth. Like it'd be awesome. Like I'd love to see stuff like that. And like I don't know, maybe they feed us content and stuff that way. Like that'd be really cool to see. But other than that, like I guess I don't have a ton more to add. It's just that's something that I wanted to throw in at the end, because like I said, like I'm really happy with the company now. That's something that like a few years ago I never thought I would ever say. And like I don't know, maybe I even just straight up thought that like the studio would have gone out of business. I don't know. But like holy shit, like this is like what they're doing is just like unbelievable. And like it's cool. Like their access to metrics and stuff, like if they're not doing enough, they'll know. Like they can see the stream numbers, they can see the engagement in the game, they can see how many people are doing raids and strikes and all this stuff. And like they have access to all of these numbers and all of this data. And no one thinks about that because the players, like, I'm just going to be real with you. Like, all of the players, all of the haters, all of the people that are talking shit, the only data you have access to is ARC DPS and Reddit. You have nothing else, and you're basing all of your decisions off of what people on Reddit are seeing and the DPS that you see on Octovine. Like, give them a chance. Have some faith. Like, it seems like right now they actually know what they're doing. Like they've done just a little bit now. Like they've made some claims, but they seem like they're actually going to follow through with it. And if they don't follow through it, if they release the expansion and it sucks, then you can go on Reddit and then you can complain a little bit, but just like fuck, give them a chance. Damn.
Wow. What a wholesome story. I think that's a good place to kind of wrap things up. That we've gone through all of the happenings and certainly a few tangents there as of usual. So I think it's time to actually wrap this tea time up here. So yes, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today and having some heated discussions about certain aspects of the game. I certainly enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys watching did there as well, and a wholesome ending there as well. So In that case, Nike, do you have any closing thoughts for us, and maybe some things that that you're up to right now in Guild Wars 2? You can maybe inform us about some of these tops, because I believe to actually see a lot of what you do, you've got to catch it live, because I believe the VODs don't always survive, actually, as I understand
the VODs
it.
never survive.
Oh.
Yeah, I delete my VODs when I'm done.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's too hot. too steamy and scandalous. You gotta be there. Live.
So there you go, guys. Go and watch Nike. Okay, there are links below the stream and obviously on the video if you're watching this on YouTube as well. So make sure you check that out there. Okay, and Brazil, aka Underworld Video Preston. Do you have any final thoughts, final words, and of course, shout outs to yourself and others that you would like to deliver to us right now?
I don't I mean, as far as like the topic and everything and like the game and the discussion, like I'm pretty much, I think, said everything I want to say. But yeah, I guess like plugging myself and whatever. Like I guess I make art now. I'm a photographer. I do some stuff that I think is cool. Maybe if you don't think it's cool, then whatever. But if you want to check out what I'm doing, if you want to follow what I'm up to, like basically everywhere, UWV_Preston, Twitter, Instagram, like all that stuff. Then like you can check out my work, check out what I'm doing. You can just go to underworldvideo.com. That's probably the easiest way to find everything. You can see like some of my favorite art that I've made. You can buy prints of it. That would be awesome if you want to buy some photo prints and throw a couple bucks my way. And like I think probably like the most important thing that I'm doing right now is like I set up a Patreon project and I'm working on a photo book where I'm documenting homelessness in the US, like specifically in Dallas, Texas. And like on the Patreon, like I'm not trying to get rich or anything off of it, but like all of the money that I make from that, like I am literally buying stuff and helping out homeless people. If all of the money that goes into that is going straight back to people that are having a hard time out on the street. Like I would love it if any of you guys wanted to support me. Like if you want to give me $2 a month, like that's cool. And like I'm being fully transparent about everything on it. I'm rendering out a video right now of a conversation I had with a guy last night that was 30 minutes long. Just talking to him about life and how he got out there and what he's doing and like just how things are. And I heard the most probably potent line that I've ever heard last night. The guy told me, he said the streets are undefeated. I'm like, that's just a really rough thing to think about. But if you want to check out any of that, if you want to, throw some money towards that project, help me out. I'd love for you to do that. Just check out underworldvideo.com. Got a Discord server. If you want to come tell me that you disagree with everything I say, you can join and tell me that I'm an asshole. I don't fucking care. But really appreciate that if you want to check that out. So that's, guess about it. It's probably all I got to say. Disagree with me in the YouTube comments.
Oh, very,
Don't forget to flame Inks in the comments.
No!
Do not forget to flame Inks. He's not here, but don't forget.
Don't flame Inks. Inks, he doesn't like it, okay? Don't beat him down in the comment section, guys, okay? He's an innocent soul, a sweet soul, a gentle soul, as it were. Okay, don't beat him down. But anyway, okay, thank you guys for watching. Okay, obviously, big shout out to the guests here as well for lighting up this stream with their absolute radiance. If you guys like TeaTime, it's actually going to be back now. So, kind of as my introduction here, yeah, TeaTime is probably going to be back on a more regular basis. Maybe every week for a little while, actually, because there's going to be some stuff getting announced pretty shortly. So it might be like every week. It might be every 2 weeks. Okay, so get ready for the grand return and, of course, the grand perseverance of TeaTime there as well. So make sure to follow the stream if you like it and subscribe to give me money as well, okay? Although, of course, give money to everyone else here as well. Brazil and Nike, definitely worthy streamers of your financial support there. So get over there, guys, and check out all that stuff there as well. There's a lot more to come. I'm actually not done with the stream. I will continue, actually, because it is Sunday. I'm going to go do probably some raids, actually, so I can get some... I need the raid clear because I didn't do any raids this week, but that's what I'll go do. But... until then, next time, and of course, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can't see that. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream follow all the social media, click all the links down below. Okay, just click all of them, like literally every single one of them. There's no reason not to. But anyway, that is all from us with regards to Tea Time. Thanks for watching, guys. Really hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Good night, my friends. See you later.